Shalom. This is Mary Arne from the World Government House of King David, Holy Covenant Constitutional Enforcer. I'm the woman of Galatians 4:4 and the woman of Revelations 12. Please refer to your Bible. And all I ask you to do is consider that I am who I say I am. I'm the mother of the New Jerusalem, and I'm the mother that gave birth to newborn King Emmanuel, February the 15th, 2011. This is a Republic notice to the Department of Education, Arne Duncan, and his top 10 staff members. This is a 2013 Republic notice concerning constitutionality of the Department of Education. I'm placing a constitutional, God-sovereign, King Yahshua ownership lien on the agency, the Department of Education, and all contracts that come through there, and all the contracts that's distributed from there, and all the monetary transfers that's distributed from there to either private school sources, colleges, and any other sources within the states, without the states, any other sources where financial money is exchanged to private or any other public institutions. Arne Duncan need to be warned that even though you are in a corporate doctrine contractor and President Obama is in a neutral position as far as you're concerned, what you need to know is President Obama is serving the Constitution. He's married to a constitutional citizen, and he has children of constitutionality. Therefore, he is behind the 15th Amendment in non-consent jurisdiction. Non-consent jurisdiction meaning that anything he signs and his presence being there means non-consent for corporate doctrine contractors like yourself, Arne Duncan, to think that they have the right to close schools, to deprive Chicago children or any children of constitutionality, which are Black American children and children born from Black American women in this country, to deprive them of vouchers, to deprive them of any schools in their neighborhood of their choice, to deprive them of private school funding, to deprive them of any kind of school funding. As a matter of fact, I'm telling you, as the House and the law of the Constitution of the King David ruled government as 2013, now I'm saying this. President Obama is the president. He serves the Constitution. That's what he took his oath to. Constitution has something called constitutional citizens. If you do not choose to serve constitutional citizens, Arne Duncan, if you do not want to educate and spend the money as the priority, the supreme priority of the supreme citizens of the Constitution, which are Black American children, Black American historically Black colleges, private schools for Black American church schools, and Black American charter schools, because they are constitutional. Constitutional. See, you don't say the word white American, you just transfer all the money to white Americans and then say when we say anything Black, we're crying racism. Well, I'm saying constitutional. Constitutional children, constitutional colleges, historically Black college, constitutional Black children, constitutional children in neighborhoods where schools are being shut down in Chicago, constitutional teachers, constitutional contracts, constitutional charter schools must be the priority in 2013. If you don't have enough funding for that, then stop all your funding to stop transferring funding to suburban schools and other schools that have higher incomes and higher tax rates, because they don't need it as much. So you don't make a constitutional citizens the last, because they're the first in line by supreme contract. They're the first in line by supreme contract. I'm tired of these children having to go to broken down schools, dealing with these careless teachers who don't care nothing about them, because the attitude is that at the top at the Department of Education. Another thing, constitutional citizens, once they tell you they're constitutional citizens, you're not to limit their Pell Grants at all, because it's their wealth. Any money comes from the government, comes from the constitutional government. The U.S. corporate mule has no funding. And most of the contracts you give around to different states, SEAs, and state departments of education is through contracting with the mule, but the Constitution funds them, and constitutional citizens are the primary source of funding. So therefore, the time is over for you hiding behind bureaucracy and saying things like, well, the 10% of what's going on is determined by the state, and they determine which is closed and which is open and which is not. I don't care what you think the state determines. You better determine not to give that state educational agency no funding if they think that they don't have the priority of constitutional citizens as their servitude, okay? They are to serve constitutional citizens first. No one asks all these other people of in corporate doctrines to come here. As a matter of fact, a constitutional lien is on every school in this country because it's on constitutional land and property contracted with constitutional citizen black children who are the supreme people in the Constitution that must be served by the Department of Education. Not only that, now I am requesting that funding go directly to black colleges to look into programs of setting up satellite schools on an elementary and a middle school level for black American or constitutional black American students, and I want to the Department of Education to send a multi-million-dollar contract to Ben Amin in Israel so he can set up educational and language studies by internet for children in the United States to begin to study Hebrew as their second language, and Aramaic languages of their historical Judasian history. Now, I'm tired of you thinking that just because appropriate committee told you that, appropriate committee told you this, or whoever told you what, you're not going to blame those no contractors in the state. You're not going to blame nobody else. Arne, Duncan, you are the head of the Department of Education, and you better serve constitutional citizens. This is not a request. If you don't serve constitutional citizens, a lien would be placed on all that you own, constitutional ownership lien, and you will not get your pension. So you can play games all you want to, because you only have the immediate time to play games, because your time is coming to an end. And you hiding behind the stealing and embezzlement of states depriving blacks of education is not going to work. It's not going to work. And just like the Civil Rights Division or Department of Civil Rights supposed to be enforcing the educational rights of blacks, well, I'm going to tell you this. It's the constitutional rights, the constitutional enforcement civil rights organization now, because I'm placing a constitutional ownership, supreme contractual God sovereignty lien on the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice that handles education. The whole Department of Justice now is under constitutional supervision and ownership declaration of sovereignty on our land as our agency to serve Judah. So therefore, you have no excuses. Funding goes to Ben Amin in Israel to set up internet services to educate black children in America by the computer to culture, language, and Hebrew Israelite studies. A multi-million-dollar contract with open-end renewal. Further, any church is stepping up and saying they want to open up private schools for black people under constitutionality, not no other ones, because they don't need no other ones, just under constitutionality, not no other dung acts or appropriate, under constitutionality without no bureaucracy or red tape, because they have the supreme contract on all monies that's generated in this country from their 400-year capital inheritance and investment. No money is outside them, because all the wealth wealth of America's in the supreme contract of the Constitution with them. So you can play games talking about states determine this, states determine that. Yes, states may determine it, but dumb contractors or in corporate doctrine contractors of the U.S. corporate mule don't determine it, because the Constitution owns the mule. The Constitution owns the mule. So let's stop playing these dung mountain games and get down to the brass tacks. If you don't want to serve the Constitution, step down out of your position. This is Mary Omni from the House of King David. Shalom.